We've received quite a bit of interest in my free to be workshop. So to that effect, beneath this video is a link that will give you a description for the workshop. And we've also included a special discount. So if that's something you would be interested in, I would invite you to click that link, and I hope that you would find the course to be quite beneficial. As you try to have healthy and successful relationships, one of the things we have to have right up front at the middle of it all is honesty and truth. In order for you and me to have a decent engagement with one another, we want to create trust, and trust is grounded in a sense of truth. What's correct, what's incorrect, what's right, what's appropriate, etc. Now, there are two beginning points that I have with narcissists that are quite contradictory. One beginning point is narcissists cannot be trusted with the truth. They don't do a good job in terms of determining what it is. The second beginning point, though, that I have as I engage with these individuals is narcissists portray themselves as the keepers of truth. So they can't be trusted with truth, and yet they proclaim themselves to be the keepers, and perhaps we can even say the writers of truth. And you can see that this comes from their attitude of entitlement. They can be very self-impressed to the extent that they think, well, there's the way that you people out there think, and then there's me. But when we go a little bit further and try to figure out the narcissist relationship with truth, we realize that there's something much more sloppy that's going on beneath the surface that they're not coming to terms with. Very early in life, narcissists indeed were confronted with certain truths that were not comfortable for them. For example, there's the truth that says people can sometimes be angry with me. They had those experiences. So did you, by the way. Another truth that they encountered was some people just don't like me. Or another truth is some people seem to operate with a fixed agenda about who I'm supposed to be. Or another truth that they encountered is if I think or feel or experience things differently from other individuals, I'm going to get in trouble. And then another truth that they encountered early in life is I'm not real sure who I can trust. Now, healthy individuals, and you and I also could have had those same kind of experiences, healthy individuals can examine those kinds of ingredients that are a part of our engagements with other individuals, and we can say, well, it seems like I have some learning to do. Narcissists, however, because they have to have control and because they have to stay in the favored position, they'll concoct an alternate reality. One of the things that distinguishes narcissism from healthiness is narcissists will make themselves such a victim that they build an entire system of thinking upon their victimization. And so they come up with what we refer to as alternate reality. For example, they may think something like, my needs become more important than your needs, or you're a fool if you differ from me, or when you differ, then you deserve punishment. And so they try to come up with some truths in their mind that make them feel better. But in fact, it illustrates they just don't have a sense of honesty about human nature, about themselves, about you. And so what I want to do is I want to highlight 7 of the most common truths that narcissists have great difficulty coming to terms with. And it's going to be so important for you to realize what their game is, because they want to pull you into their alternate reality, and we can't afford to let that happen. Now, one of the first truths that they refuse to come to terms with is simply this: each person has inherent worth. Now, the narcissist thinks each person should have some sort of usefulness, okay? To a narcissist, your worth is on a grading system. If you do excellent, okay, then you're worth something to me. If you have some mediocrity, or if you've had some failure, if you've had some sort of a problem in your life that I just don't like, then you're not worth anything to me. So to narcissists, worth is something that goes up and down and back and forward based on your utility. And as a result, they don't see you as an inherently worthy individual, and that makes an enormous difference in the way that they engage with you. A second truth that narcissists cannot come to terms with is each person gets to choose. Each person gets to choose their own personal priorities or their preferences. They get to choose their own interests or their opinions. Whereas the narcissist, in opposition to that, says, well, truth is, you need me to control you. And so they presume that it's reasonable and it's accurate to say, I need to be in the control position, and you can see where that's going to lead. They overlook the fact that you have a desire to be free, and freedom means the privilege to choose, just as they do. It's like, well, I want freedom for me, but not for you. A third truth that they cannot come to terms with is difference does not equate to one up or one down, as opposed to the narcissist way of thinking, which is very competitive and very binary. Narcissists think, well, if you differ from me, one of us has to be right, one of us has to be wrong. One of us is the winner, one of us is the loser. And by the way, guess who's going to be on which end of that equation? As opposed to thinking, when differentness shows up, maybe we can learn from each other. And this can be on very broad topics, like if you differ from me on your political persuasions or your religious persuasions or the way that you look at social issues, perhaps I can learn from you. Perhaps you have an angle that I could benefit from. I'd like to know. Or if it's something small, like how you're going to make the meal today, or how you're going to approach a project, or how you want to discipline the kids, or how you're going to respond to extended family members during holiday times. I mean, the possibilities are endless. When narcissists differ from you or you differ from them, it's like, no, I'm right, you're wrong. I don't learn, I tell. And so that's how they manage that. That's part of their defense mechanism. That's part of their alternate reality. Or a fourth truth that they have great difficulty coming to terms with, and that is the variety of feelings and needs is broad and natural. Narcissists don't like variety. And so in opposition to that, they seek conformity. And when you don't conform, then they go to the next step, which is invalidation. Rather than saying, well, I like having variety. It's built into all of nature, including human nature. It's like, no, since I'm the standard bearer, since I'm the one that says, here's the way it ought to be, then you just need to conform to me. And if you don't, there's something dreadfully wrong. But you can see that this stems from their lack of trust in other individuals. They don't have good bonding. They don't take the time to learn how to have empathy toward others. It's like, well, when me says something, that's enough. I don't care what you think and feel. A fifth truth that they have great difficulty in coming to terms with is the best way to find significance is to give it away, as opposed to them having an attitude of entitlement. I'm entitled to being in the significant category. Don't you forget it. Narcissists hunger to be a somebody. They hunger to have significance, and they completely miss on what I refer to as the significance paradox. The best way for me to find my sense of well-being is to help you find your sense of well-being. It goes back to that sense of interconnectedness. But in their mind, it's like, well, I become important in direct proportion to your lack of importance. Go figure, but that's their alternate reality. A sixth truth that they struggle coming to terms with is people who hold grudges have a poor memory, as opposed to them having a selective memory and offering up revisionist history. If I hold other individuals in contempt, if I hold them in a way in disdain, where I just think that you'll never be able to get my permission to be who you are, I don't have that means I don't have the humility to say, I make mistakes too. And so if you have done something that bothers me, before I go and accuse you, I need to take a look at who I am and my humanity. They can't do that. They're too egotistically driven in that respect. And then a seventh truth that they struggle coming to terms with, and that is conflict can actually create growth opportunities. Now, I'm not saying that conflict in every single form is excellent, because sometimes the conflict is over some ridiculous kind of things. But when narcissists view conflict, immediately they think in terms of destruction. And so they're thinking, well, if you conflict with me, and then the emotion of anger shows up, I'm just going to blow you out of the saddle, whether it's through vicious anger or passive aggressive anger, or that contempt that I just mentioned. They don't manage conflict well because they don't have a good management of their own anger. Now, let's go back and recognize, in order for us to have a healthy relationship, we have to have an honesty about ourselves, and honesty requires a certain amount of objective thinking. I just need to put the thoughts out there and the facts out there. Who are you and who am I, and what do we observe about one another? What do we know about human nature? Narcissists, though, like I say, they had so many truths in their early years that they could not come to terms with, that they have, instead of learning how to be objective, they've just concocted all of this alternate reality. And like I say, that being the case, they can't be trusted with truth, even though they consider themselves as the originators of truth. Go figure. So narcissists are held prisoner by their own false front. I'm hoping that you and I, as we're able to acknowledge that and recognize that, can say, I can and I will be honest about the totality of who I am and who you are, and then let's proceed from there. I think that's a much better path to take. I hope that videos such as this can give you some good insight regarding what you're dealing with and what you're up against. If you've not already hit that subscribe button, I would encourage you to do so. Gus and I will bring more videos in your direction. Likewise, I know that there are times when you could use some help, some therapeutic help in working these kinds of issues out. I'm so pleased that I'm sponsored by the people at BetterHelp.com. There's a whole team of licensed professional therapists at your disposal. There's a link below that will take you there. And if that's something that you believe that you could use the online therapy that they provide, which is accessible and affordable, then I would encourage you to go through that link and get the help that you deserve. Likewise, I have my therapeutic courses. It's like signing up for an online class, and each class has multiple videos, written documents, guided questions, Ready, Set, Connect, about making good connection skills. This is me, about establishing your boundaries, free to be, finding yourself despite those controllers. We also have my webinars, my podcasts, our website with many articles, my books, lots of resources for you to draw upon. Narcissists can't handle the truth. But I'm hoping that you and I can just be honest about who we are, about who they are, and we can make some reasoned decisions about how we're going to maintain life skills. And in doing so, as you're able to go into that space, it positions you to be a person of steadiness, which then allows you to go down your path towards peace.